Welcome to East Coast DNA. Darcy Walsh back here again. And we've been making the rounds. I've been doing a little review of the past year. And the East Coast DNA has physically been on the road. And we've been in Halifax and Truro and Sydney and Yarmouth and Moncton and Cavendish. I feel like I need an invite up to Newfoundland. So anybody up in Newfoundland that is a fan of the show that has a reason for me to go up there and visit, definitely reach out to me. I'm going to be looking for some options in 24 to get a little bit more up into the Newfoundland area.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be
well,
fun.
let us know. You come hang with us.
Yep.
And so for people that don't know who my guests are, we are not actually calling in from Newfoundland, so we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And I actually met you practically in my backyard here in Pictou.
Yeah.
So we have Quote the Raven. So Jordan and Kirsten, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for being on my show. We had a little bit of a back and forth there over the weekend to try to get this scheduled because you guys have a new release coming really soon.
Got a shopping list this season, it's 1,000,000 miles long. We're carrying the tree and found the tallest one of all.
So the song comes out on November 17th.
Today,
actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
So excellent timing. You have a holiday theme song.
We do.
Yes. It's the first time we've written one that's upbeat, which is nice.
Yeah.
Our last Christmas song was very sad.
Yeah. And a lot of the times we kind of, dwell on the sad side of stuff, and we still kind of did with this one, but we made
No, it's happy.
It's a happy song. No, the song is happy, but it's about it's about the hustle and bustle of the holidays and trying to get everything perfect, and in actuality, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I think people come to the realization every year that they go through all this trouble, but it's like Christmas dinner where something catches on fire, or you didn't get the right thing or whatever, that honestly those are the memories that you kind of live with, especially the fire things.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you have something like that happen?
No, but I just picture Dad throwing the turkey out in the snow. That's just that's my family kind of vibe. It's just it's not going right. It's not going right.
And so, since you mentioned it, the last Christmas or holiday theme song that you had out, Lonely Christmas Eve, is that 2 Christmases ago now?
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did something change in those 2 years that you went with the more upbeat?
I think for Lonely Christmas Eve, we were, still in the COVID mindset, I guess, of just being so separated from everyone. So yeah, I think writing this one, it was more of we're finally all going to be able to get together again, and it's going to be really, a great time. So I think it was just reflected in what we were living in, I guess, at the time.
Yeah, I think it's the music changes with our moods. So I think we're hopefully overall happier people. It depends on the day.
I also have stolen the phrasing of Big Break. I know that you were using that when you were live a couple times on some of these episodes where I'm like, I don't know if I want to even say that word right now. So I've used Big Break a couple times. So thank you for the phrasing. That's a much nicer way of saying it.
Feels like a curse. Saying it is a bad omen almost. So
you even paused when you were saying
I was
it. I was like, is she gonna say Big Break, or is she gonna say the C word? I was like,
And now, aside from the single release, which we'll treat listeners to at the end of this episode, and they can go out and stream it on all streaming services now that they've seen the episode and they're aware that it's out there, add it to your Christmas playlist. But I do know that you're probably on a little bit of a time crunch because you are traveling and you're actually calling in from Germany.
Yeah. We're in Heidelberg. It's beautiful. Beautiful spot. Actually, there's a castle just down this road. This way.
Yeah, that way.
This way.
Yeah, over there.
No, it's really beautiful here. We're playing for a relative of mine wanted us to play a birthday, and so what a great opportunity to be able to come over here and do that. But yeah, we have a lot of travel plans in the future, so that's really exciting.
This is a nice precursor to it all, you know.
Yes.
Get us prepared for Europe and Australia and all that fun stuff, which is happening in the new year.
Yes.
And so for people that aren't aware, once again, because we do get a lot of people that are being introduced to artists when they're on these episodes. Yeah. So you've been a band for about a decade.
Too long.
Yeah. So did you like meet and instantly form as a band? Were you already friends, acquaintances at the point that the origins of Quote the Raven?
I would say acquaintances because
kind of
the first time I ever met Kirsten, she was walking through a drive-through and I was working at McDonald's and she was loaded.
I wasn't. I had a few beverages. Me and my friends, we were at a party not too far away, so we decided to all walk there and walk around the drive-through. And a friend of mine knew Jordan from the music school that she was going to, and so she just introduced me through the drive-through because he was working there. So yeah, that was the first time I met him, but I think it was a while after that. I feel like. Yeah. I joined the music school to take piano originally, and then my teacher thought that she thought I could sing. I don't know why she thought that.
I think she just wanted you to sing.
She
didn't want to teach piano lessons.
She'd rather teach me singing. Yeah. So she convinced me to, and then convinced me to join the choir. And Jordan joined the choir because he was teaching some lessons there as well. And I think we were like the youngest people in this like very small, I shouldn't even say it was a choir, but it was more of like a singing ensemble. There was like 6 of us, and we were the youngest, and sang a duet one time, and everyone just kind of thought our voices blended really nicely. And I mean, yeah, that was kind of the start of it. Jordan had already been singing for a while downtown, actually, in St. John's, but yeah, then I joined him, and that was it.
That was the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
And you've had, like, I say to people that are not familiar with who you are already, but I'm sure there's also a lot of people that are familiar with who you are. So you do have quite a bit of experience, like you're in Germany now, but you do have quite a bit of experience traveling around as a duo as well. Like it's not just a Newfoundland based 10 years. You do have quite a bit of road lag under you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think we kind of took it on ourselves to like, it's a tough thing in Newfoundland to travel. It's super expensive. Like if you think about any gig, you know, if you want to play a different municipality, even just playing in Newfoundland, like the biggest center outside of St. John's is either Conception Bay South, where we're from, which is about 20 minutes outside of town, and not really a place to play there. You'd have to go to Gander, which is about 4 hours, and then Corner Brook, which is another like 3 or 4 hours from Gander. So I think, you know, being road warriors is kind of just ingrained. Like if you're going to do this and be touring musicians, you have to travel a fair bit, even just to exist in the province. But I think the biggest thing for us was just wanting to try, just wanting to see parts of the world that we had never really experienced, and taking that chance and driving over and taking the ferry and going to North Sydney and seeing what crowd reactions would be like, because we'd played downtown St. John's, which is kind of a mixed bag. You know, there's a lot of Irish traditional music, but there's also a lot of cover scenes, and the music that we play is not really it's the time of night that we were playing, like 1 o'clock in the morning a lot of times. It's really not it doesn't make sense, and there wasn't really a venue for us at that time, at that stage in our career, for us to kind of like hone our chops. So we would play this bar to one person and you know, be happy about that, but we were just always curious about what it would be like to tour. And so when we took that first step, like I think one of the first places we played, there was like 30 or 40 people, and we were like, whoa, like what is happening here? Like this is so unlike what we've kind of experienced leading up to this point, and it's kind of just grown from there, and we're super appreciative of it, because it's
and I guess we've been kind of like all over Canada now, and we, except for Manitoba. Yes, and I guess the territories too, which would be amazing at some point to do. But besides that, yeah, we've been to the States a couple times, and Trinidad. That was really cool. And so, you know, we have done a fair bit, but yeah, Europe and stuff is next. So I'm really excited about that to dive more into it. But
that's wild.
Yeah.
And on the recording end, like you have a catalog that goes back just as long, but you do seem to have paced yourself maybe more so now than in the early days, but you do seem to have always mirrored the current strategy of like a single, do a few shows, let that breathe a little bit, put another one out, build up a little bit, and then, oh, well, here's a collection of songs. So
Yeah.
is that something that you, in the early days, was there guidance? Like, did you have a program like Music Newfoundland or something that was helping strategize that stuff in the early days?
Music Newfoundland has been great, especially for resources and stuff like that. But I think when it came to like album release or music releases, I think it's just what we've learned like from other artists that we got to know. I know, you know, we've had a lot of help from Sound of Pop when we first started with them. They knew a lot of things that we didn't know. Chris Kirby, who's produced all our albums, has taught us a lot. We love him, and he's been great. And yeah, like times have just changed so much with music and what people think. You know, you're just constantly learning what the new algorithms are, or like what, you know, the music streaming platforms want, and so it is a bit of a challenge sometimes. But yeah, I think also too why we've been why there's been like so much time in between albums. Like I think when we first started, we were like 6 years in, or four or 5 years in before we released our first EP. For a long time we were just kind of singing casually, Jordan's poems that he put to music and some covers and stuff. So it was really like, it took a while before we were like, is this what we're gonna
And I think the financial barriers have always been a big thing too. Like I know a lot of people kind of like jump in head first, and sometimes that works, but it's like you have to rely on like this explosion of stuff happening that kind of often ends up with a lot of luck involved. And I think for us, like we've kind of been like, you know what, it'd be really cool to go down to New Orleans for Folk Alliance when it happened there, but we had already been to Americana Fest back in like 2019, so it was like we had to pick one of those to like
so we didn't like spend all of our money basically. It's been a bit of strategy, but I think it's nice to just have so many people who are supportive and helpful along the way. I think the music community is so supportive, more so than I ever thought it would be, within the province and even outside of that. It's just been really great.
So do you have a goal that you've set between the two of you as what success is for Quote the Raven? Because it sounds like over those years you have had quite a bit of the luck. I mean, some of it is working with the right people, and some of those people had luck as well. So I mean, perfect storm, and trends kind of evolving to a point that it was following a similar strategy to what you were already in sync with. So did you ever have a goal that you wanted to achieve, or is everything just kind of organically progressed and you just happen to be where you're at now?
I remember like the biggest thing was like having an expectation of zero, like, and making a joke about it, because like everything is always going to be better than that. And you know, even like a bartender at a bar is more than one person having to listen to you, you know, like, and some nights it was that for us. And so we've honestly been pleasantly surprised most shows where it's like, okay, we have no idea if anyone's going to show up. We've done all this, a new place we've never been before. And people have found us, whether it's through like, you know, radio or
things like this, or
exactly. Podcasts. So I think setting an expectation and just kind of being happy with any of the results has kept us going, I think, through all of it. I
mean, you know, we'd love to play a massive stadium. Wouldn't that be amazing? But I think the only goal that we really would love is to just be able to sustain a life like this, because I think at this point I still live with my grandmother, who is so sweet, and I'm so happy that I can. And I think we are almost at a point where we would be able to kind of sustain and like have our own bills and be able to pay them all off and stuff like that. But I think if there's a real goal, it would be that is, you know, Jordan works another job as well when he's home, and wouldn't it be really nice if he didn't have to and we could just focus on music? So I think if there's anything, it's just that. I don't know if there's really specific venues or anything. I mean, if people have us and they love our music, I think that's the best thing, right?
I used to make a joke and say, like, I want to be like the next Queen or something, you know? And like, let's set something like completely like unattainable in terms of like superstardom, but like let something be totally out of reach, but then be fine with every kind of step in the wrong that gets you closer to that position. And again, like just being okay with progress in any form, because I think oftentimes the rejections from music, like we think about, like there's a good example, there's a festival promoter we won't name, someone who we love dearly now, but the first time that we had met them,
first couple times,
we got this cold shoulder vibe from them,
and I remember we were just like, well, we're never gonna get this festival. They don't like us. This is never gonna work.
And then, you know, like the third time we went with this person, they had a big smile on their face and was like, come play the festival this summer.
And they gave us such a great spot during the festival, and it was just like a complete difference to what we expected.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just like a never give up thing. I mean, probably, you know, what everyone would say, but I do think if you just keep trying, like if we keep trying, we will hopefully get to a point where we can, you know, sustain a life.
Yeah.
I find there's a lot of parallels to what I do because I'm following bands around. So I end up in similar situations with travel and time constraints. I have a full-time job that has nothing to do with any of this, right?
Yeah.
But do you find that having the job back home as well gives you that kind of security blanket when you're on the road too, so you have a little bit more confidence to take chances with your music?
It's interesting. Like I've worked a lot of jobs. Like I make a joke that I've worked in every industry at least this point in my life, and so I'm working at a Long McQuaid in St. John's right now, and it's just this unique situation where I have this place to go when I'm not touring, and they're fine with that, you know. And
it's also music related, which is
it nice. Is, and it's so it keeps me in the industry. And honestly, there's a lot of people who I've been acquaintances of who I'm now friends with, you know, because of that job. And like, you know, we always talk gear or whatever, and just kind of it becomes a hangout spot, which is great too. But I think, yeah, like I'm very lucky in that situation too, because during the job interview, I kind of said like, hey guys, I really appreciate this. But my goal in life is to be a touring musician, and that is the goal to me. And so to be able to have those boundaries at the beginning of the job was massive. And so it makes me feel like I'm not stepping on anyone's toes being who I am, whereas other jobs I've had, you know, I almost got fired because I took a sick day for being in a musical, you know, like stuff like that, like things that, like, if someone else had came to the boss and said, you know, I'm going fishing, can I take a sick day? Like, you know, the discrepancy, like I always found that people didn't understand the music industry in the industries that I was working in. And it always felt like, hey, like I'm up till 2 o'clock playing a show, but you're up till 2 o'clock watching a hockey game. What's the difference? At least in this job, like I think they have an understanding of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, makes you feel more valuable, but I'm sure on the customer end too. And I'm kind of projecting a bit because I used to work retail record stores in different levels. So I find as a customer, though, knowing that the person that's waiting on me is somebody that also does what I'm going to do with the equipment. Like that would be important to me as a customer going in to buy an instrument or any of the gear that you need to go on tour, really.
And and I learned so much about that stuff too, which is nice. And Kirsten thinks I spent a lot of money, but you know,
that's the only bad thing about it is working in a place that is so full of instruments is not it's not always great for the bank account. But I think too we established like separate accounts for those things really early on too. So any money, you know, that we make with the band for the most part just goes back into the band. We are lucky now that we can pay ourselves every now and again, but you know, now so many trips coming up, hopefully we will be able to get some grants, but you know, we have to be able to pay for it obviously ourselves, and so we really have. We've been doing that since the first album, I think. Maybe even before that.
Yeah,
so.
even I think before I had any savings in my savings account, I always designated that as the band fund before we even set one up as a Quote the Raven account. Like, it was just like, all right, there's never any savings going in this account, so I might as well just put, you know, the $100 or $7 that we made some nights playing downtown.
So we don't usually have to use our own money unless it's something that we feel is a really great investment, and then sometimes we will put some of our own. But yeah, we try to keep it separate as much as possible, which I think is been smart for us to do.
The grant writing too gives you the added bonus of, even if you're not pulling a lot from it on that end, when you go to do the grant writing, you have to build. When I first started seeing those things, I was like, oh, it's like a boring resume. I'm like, no, it's not. Because once you actually have accomplishments to put on there, it's a really fun alternative to a resume, because it's everything that you succeeded in doing. And it's a nice little reminder to see, like I asked, if you had goals early on. Now, when you go in, fill a grant application and say, I want to do this, and somebody says, okay, well, why? Well, I've done these things. You have that self-validation before you even have to talk to a person about it. It's kind of a nice little treat, actually, for paperwork. It's probably one of the nicer experiences.
I actually enjoy writing grants, which is a bit of an anomaly as a musician. Not all the time, but like
I do not like it at all.
When I can sit down and, like, you know, kind of like you're saying, like, assess what we've done and also like what we're planning to do. And I think oftentimes a lot of friends, you know, like, I know I've written grants for other people, and oftentimes I say, like, you know, this is not just a process of me spewing stuff, made up stuff. Like, I think it's really important to really assess what your plan is and how you're going to execute it, because to say you're going to, like, sell 1 million records, it's like, you know, it's crazy talk just to do that, you know, without having a valid working plan to get there, right? So I think that's so important, and oftentimes, like, when I do write those grants for other people, it's like I'm sitting down with them and chatting for as much time as they probably would spend writing the grant, you know, to figure out what that strategy is and how to get there and stuff. I think that's so important.
And usually I will ask somebody at the beginning about the name of the band, and lately I found I've been leaving that out, so it's become kind of a throwaway question I've left to the side. But I did hear you mention that the early days was reciting your poetry. So I'm assuming that Quote the Raven has the Edgar Allan Poe, and so is that just as simple as that for the origins of the name?
Kind of,
pretty much. When we first started, actually, we were gonna call ourselves JK for Just Kidding, because we thought, this is never gonna happen. This is not a viable career. We're gonna just call it Just Kidding. But yeah, when we decided that we were gonna try and record an album, we were like, okay, this name is not gonna do. We need to find a good one. But Jordan had so many suggestions, and I did not like any of them. I really didn't think I was gonna settle on anything. But it
was very tough.
Yeah,
I don't even remember. They started getting real terrible after.
Yeah, they were a little bit inappropriate, not but only because he was like, "You're not saying yes to anything else." Like, he was making it funny.
Brainstorm.
But he said "Quoth the Raven," you know, from the Edgar Allan Poe poem. But I don't know. That was the only thing that I kind of was like,
Yeah, like it got an adverse reaction as opposed to like no. Everything was no, but that one was like and I was like, all right, we have to go with that. And then we changed it because Quoth is it's you know, we just kind of thought it would be either associated with like poetry readings or heavy metal music. And even still, when we changed it to Quote, we still did get some grant applications back being like the band name doesn't match the sound of the band and all this stuff. And I was like,
which is a silly I think it's kind of a silly note for a grant, but the reason why we wouldn't get it is the band name. Okay. But yeah, no, we have had a few people still think that we're going to be metal, which I think is really hilarious. But yeah, it is from the poem. And I think when we first started too, we were a little bit more
macabre.
Yeah.
In the dark.
Little morbid, little kind of.
Do you have any idea if there's any type of transition ratio for people that thought it was a metal band that went, oh, I like it anyway, and they just stuck around?
Yeah, I think there's a few. A lot of the people who like metal music that I know, like they listen to a bunch of different genres and stuff like that, and I think that's really cool because, you know, like home is oftentimes, I feel like music sometimes gets it like categorized like you're in high school again, you know, where you got the jocks over here and you got but I always found that like the metal kids would they'd come out to a show and be like, oh, it was pretty cool. Or like we had this one time where I don't know if it was me playing or both of us playing, and this guy was just like definitely a metalhead because there was a metal band going on after us, and he just like stood in the center of the stage, just him, just looking us directly in the face the whole time. And I was like, I think he probably likes this. So, you know, I think there's definitely a ratio of that. And I
would
think,
love to know what it is, though.
Yeah.
We should ask sometime on our social media. Just ask, like,
who thought we were.
Yeah. Did any of you think that this was the music you were going to hear when you heard our band name?
Totally.
And who's the person behind like your logo? Like, because you nailed your branding really early on in the career of the band as well.
I wish you could take credit for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like
I
honestly,
even have one of those wooden picks there.
Oh,
that's so cool. Cute.
We this is another thing. Like I think we've been super lucky to have people who have been there for us from the very start. My friend Aaron Bishop, who's our graphic designer and just a part of our team as much as either of us for the most part. He's one of my friends from high school, like at junior high.
Oh, wow.
Like I've known him forever. Yeah. And so we used to just play video games, and I remember we were playing Red Dead Redemption or something one night, and I had the headset on, and I was like, what are you doing at school anyways, man? Because I think I was doing instrumentation engineering or something. He's like, graphic design. And I was like,
you draw?
I was like, what is that? You know, like what, you know, and I had no idea. Like I knew he like drew and stuff like this, but like I didn't know that he was so talented. And so I was like, if I came to you, like, could you do a logo? And like that logo that we have, like that Raven has been there from the very start. Like as soon as we came up with that name, he was the one to come up with that concept for the logo. And it's just been fantastic. Like
he's so talented. I remember the first album, like the first EP we did, Misty Mountains. There's like the outline of the feather, and so you see like a scene within the feather, and then the rest of the album is pink, or like a, you know, pink colors. And when he sent it to us, we were like, wow, that's so beautiful. And he said, yeah, like I drew a whole landscape, and then I just decided where to put this outline. And we were like, how much work did you do for just a little tiny section of what you were going to use? And he said, yeah, I just felt like that was the way to get it. And so this is just how like his brain works when it comes to art, and it's been so consistent. And he knows, like, you know, we can kind of give him a couple things, like tips, or not tips, ideas, I guess, and he just comes up with the best artwork for everything that we ask. And it's crazy. And he has such great ideas too. So like if he thinks, you know, he's not afraid to say it. He's like, that's so not gonna work. He's very blunt.
He's so blunt.
He's like, no.
We're
like, okay.
All right.
And he always comes up with something much better than what we originally thought of. So
that is something the AI is missing. When you use AI and plug in a couple of keywords to get it to generate something, it will, for the most part, find something adequate to your purposes. And sometimes it's bang on, but I've been playing with a little bit for things like that. And it's wrong so many times, and it does not offer you opinions like a person would. Like it gives you options, but the options might be like completely out there. Like you could be looking for an album title and be like, what about peanut butter? Like, but that has nothing to do with any of the information I gave you. So I don't know. It's nice to hear that you had somebody that was a good fit, but also somebody that was a friend that was able to work with you for that long of a time.
Yeah. It's been great. And it's cool because we like really separate friendship and business, which is nice too. Like, you know, sometimes you get in partnerships with people and you're like, you know, it blends into the worlds. But like, you know, when we're hanging out watching a movie, eating pizza and stuff like that, like it's not, those conversations don't come up until the email the next day kind of thing, you know, like, which is really cool. And I think that's been a key component to our success too, like being able to be a band, so long as that separating the gig from the life is important. So
well, I just my peripheral's picking up that you're here from the picture performance. There you go. I planned them. Yeah.
Are those videos that you took?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I just got the reel of videos that I took all playing in the background, and it just came up in the queue with you. I should have taken credit for planning that, but I did not. Yeah. So.
Just magic, just luck, like everything else.
Yes, exactly. Well, actually, that's what I was going to get to next. So it's first of all, you have to start at a young age playing music and get your talent down. Then you have to surround yourself with good people, hopefully people that you have a long time connection with, so that you can maintain that. And boundaries sounds like it's an important thing, setting your own boundaries early on. And luck. So if I can get all four of those things, then I could start a band, I think, and have some success.
Just be at it for 10 years as well.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think the only thing would be the age thing for musicians. I don't know. Like, I think it does matter, only depending on what your, like you say, what your goals are and how quickly you want to get there. Because like I didn't really start singing until the very end of high school. I mean, I was in choirs, but I never ever thought that was going to be a career. So we were really graduated high school before we started this. So most people are a lot younger, and I would think that it would be easier in a way if you did start younger. That's definitely a good thing, I think, but it's not always necessary. It just depends, you know, if you want the house and the car and the, you know, by 30 maybe you'd have to start earlier.
I think the luck side of things is more important when you're younger too, because it's very easily to be influenced by people in the industry that like say they know what they're doing and stuff like that, and it's very easy to go down a road that seems like the easy way to get something. And then like friends of ours who, you know, have been at it since very young have met people along the way that
took advantage
of them, and luckily, like again, it does, you know, come down to luck for us, but we've just kind of used our gut reactions on people, and not because of what they could offer us, but how they were as people. And I think using that, like the first thing we did when we did Golden Hour was we signed with Sound of Pop Publishing, and we had no idea what, like, we knew Tim was right on kind of guy, but we had no idea what they could offer us in terms of like the publishing side of stuff, or the knowledge behind song rights and co-writes and how to do all this stuff. Like that knowledge was completely like pivotal in you know, the last 5 years for us. So I think, yeah, like that's the other side of it too, is like trusting your gut, but also like having friends who have experience too, because
we're not being afraid to ask, you know, if you're going to sign with someone and they already have artists that they represent, it's always nice to ask, and they'll tell you. They will. They don't, especially if it's not a great thing, they will tell you.
I did notice people are pretty good to not talk bad, because you never know who you're actually talking to or who's listening. And if you're not one of those people, you should probably think about that. But when you do hear, I do find, like, unless you're really close with somebody, like if you're really close, you might get like the nitty gritty story. But I do find for the most part in the industry, people will kind of nudge you in a direction if they're looking out for you, rather than say, this is why. They'll just be like, like, hey, maybe we should go meet this person.
So this word perpetuity, I'm just going to tell you what it means now. It's you'll hear it a bunch for the rest of your life, but
you don't want
whenever you hear it, you just turn tail and run, you know, like that kind of thing, right?
The tips are always nice. And so now for the holidays coming up, how can people support you? Do you have any tour dates on back on this side of the ocean, or band camp type thing?
One Christmas show that's completely sold out, which is really cool.
Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
that's in Conception Bay South, where we're from.
Yeah.
No
Christmas shows planned, but I think we'll definitely be doing a bunch of stuff related to the new track. And
I think the next tour though is maybe the songwriting one that we're doing.
Oh, on the East Coast, yeah. We're planning we can just drop the bomb here right now. We're doing a 4 of us, artists from each province in the Atlantic region. Yeah. We're doing a tour around the Atlantic provinces. So
a little songwriting circle type thing, but it's not until April.
Yeah, leading up to Easter.
So it'll be announced soon who everyone is and what the plan is. But I think that's kind of the next thing, just because we're doing a lot of things outside of the country, I think, really coming up next. But that'll be
that's really exciting.
Yeah,
and now
is. I did mention the investment year.
I mentioned the pick. I also have some of your buttons here. The rest of them are actually on my jacket. So anyone that's seen me at the last couple of music weeks, that's all of my buttons. I think 2 of them are Quote the Raven ones.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you.
And your T-shirt.
That's Aaron too.
You have the T-shirt with that same logo that has the quotation marks with the raven in the middle.
Pitching our merch to everybody.
But where can people buy that to give people for Christmas presents?
Yeah. We have a web store on our website. Our website is quotetheravenofficial.com, and then there's a little tab for store there. You can purchase stuff there, or you can message us direct, and we'll figure out a way to ship things
because not everything that we usually sell on tour is available on that site. So, if you're looking for something specific that that we have, we might be able to get you one.
Yeah.
To send it.
Perfect. And I think I'm accidentally, I don't have any monetization on my show at this point, but I think I'm accidentally plugging yogurt here. Thank you, YouTube commercials.
We'll take it.
There we go. We're back into music again. I'll take that. So I'm going to thank you guys for your time, and there will be links in the description down below for anyone that wants to go out and buy some merchandise for Christmas or check out the new single to add to their playlist. And for anyone that is still along with us at this point in the episode, if you stay with us another couple minutes, you'll be treated to the new single.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Pretty paper, strings of light, all wrapped up in one special night. Make a wish with all my might. This year we'll finally get it right. Snow is falling, a blanket on the street. The wind is calling, bringing back sweet memories. Been searching every window, peeking through the frosted glass, hoping I can get it right at last. Got a shopping list this season, it's 1,000,000 miles long. We're carrying the tree and found the tallest one of all. Like the swirling in the snow globe, the storm breaks before the dawn. Everything is bright and all is calm. Pretty paper, strings of light, all wrapped up in one special night. Make a wish with all my might. This year we'll finally get it right. When the family comes to dinner, wanna see their eyes light up, wanna huddle around the fire. We can all raise a cup. We are finally together, and together we're enough. Maybe all we ever need is love.